Welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at one of the final releases for 2017, which is of course the box set The War Master, Only the Good, which finally sees the return of Sir Derek Jacobi as the Master that we only seen once in Utopia in Series 3, which still to this day baffles me why we've got such an excellent actor and then made them regenerate almost immediately into John Sim when it was only just kicking off, and he could have been an absolutely excellent Master within the TV show itself because he has excellent acting opportunities, and obviously Big Finish seen that opportunity and brought him back for a whole feature-length box set featuring 4 adventures with his Doctor set during the Time War, allowing them to do many different things that previously we've only been able to imagine. So to start off with, and as always in the description below, I will leave the link to go and buy this release from the Big Finish website. It's currently out now at the pre-order price of £23 for the physical CD and £20 for the download. However, at the end of February 2018, that will be going up to the normal national price. I do believe of £30 or £35 for the physical release, and I do believe £30 for the download. So if you have some additional Christmas money or something like that, then I do recommend buying this release, especially if you are a new series fan or one that has really enjoyed the War Doctor series, because as you can tell by the title, Only the Good, Only the Monstrous, this series very much does sort of mirror the War Doctor era quite nicely, and this is in fact a self-contained box set as well from my understanding. Although Sir Derek Jacobi is doing a few other Big Finish adventures, this is the only one actually dedicated to the War Master set during the Time War, so this is definitely a really nice purchase if you're interested in this form of Master. Starting off with some of the technical details on the Big Finish website, much like Dark Eyes, much like Doom Coalition, this box set is in fact a 4-format box set featuring 4 sort of standalone adventures. However, there is an overarching plot throughout. So the first episode is Beneath the Viscoid, written by Nicholas Briggs, of course the leader of Big Finish. Episode 2 is The Good Master, written by Janine H. Jones, which I do believe is a new writer for Big Finish, so nice to see a new name in there. Then we have episode 3, The Sky Man, written by James Goss, who of course is a Big Finish regular. And finally, the series finale is The Heavenly Paradigm, written by Guy Adams. The whole box set is directed by Scott Handcock, and the scripts have been edited by Nicholas Briggs. And generally overall for the cast for this one, it is in fact very strong. We do get a rather nice range of people, as it is a self-contained story throughout. We do get many different characters from many different backgrounds, which is nice to see. So each episode does in fact have a little bit of a different setting. Which, taking a look at some of the characters for this release now, it would of course make sense to start off with Derek Jacobi as the Master, and I was really excited for this release, to be honest, just to see more of this Master actually doing his own thing, because ever since Series 3 when we first seen him, even when I was 8, I didn't understand why we got such this talented actor and then went and got rid of him straight away. For some reason the new series really does have this tendency of doing these really talented actors and then giving them these really weird and not really very important roles, because we have Michael Gambon of course as Kadran Sardik in the Christmas special, which he did do a good job at that, but it wasn't exactly the best of episodes. And then we had Ian McKellen as that giant snow globe thing in the other Christmas special, and then of course we have this Derek Jacobi as the War Master, which is probably the closest that we got to a decent role, and I think that definitely throughout the TV show he did do a good job for what he was given. However, this box set allows him to go and do truly mastery things, and I do really like that. I think throughout the war we do in fact get a really nice version of this Master that I didn't in fact throughout this box set. I couldn't really imagine how it was going to go. I think even whilst listening to it, I didn't really know what this Master was going to do. I think that he is very unpredictable in parts. He's going to just go and do different things throughout. He could kill somebody, much like how he does throughout this release. There is in fact a few moments where we get used to these characters that we've had throughout the whole running time of the story, and then at the very end, bam, you're gone, shot dead, whatever. It's one of those episodes that really does actually have consequences behind it. I think even throughout the series, all of the characters are reflected through that, because you have this Master that will pretty much kill anybody at any point, and then you have the Daleks as well, which especially within the first story, in fact, just start killing people that we've knew throughout the whole story, and there is a lot of consequences, and it really does actually feel like a time war. I think that this episode, in fact, especially the opening one, with Viscoid having those Daleks in there definitely doing very warlike things, I think it may even be a little bit more warish than the War Doctor series to an extent. To say, probably the most unusual thing for this release was, when I first started it, I couldn't particularly imagine how it was going to play out, and then even through episode 1 and episode 2, I still couldn't really imagine how it was going to play out, because this Master is incredibly unpredictable. You think that he's going to do one thing, and then he'll go and do the other. I think that he is incredibly untrustworthy, and I think that is a really interesting concept to have your main protagonist, because unlike Doctor Who, where you have this all-good character where he can just go and do this thing and then eventually he will save the day, because you all know it's Doctor Who, and naturally when you have a classic story, you will know that the Doctor and the companions will get out of it alive. But with something like this that is set during the Time War, absolutely anything can happen, kind of everything is on the line, and this Master can basically just go and kill anybody he wants. As I said, this series does very much have consequences, because you get used to these characters that you've had for the majority of the running time, and they will just be shot dead halfway through. And even when we have the companion for this release, which I will go on to now, you have Johnny Green as Cole, which is a character that we get introduced to in episode 2. The Master accidentally kind of saves him, and that episode 3, the Skyman, is pretty much completely dedicated to that character and developing him and showing what he wants to do and his different aims in sort of this war-torn universe. And I think there is absolutely no denying that the Master definitely sort of has a little bit of compassion and kind of a little bit of love for him. I think it's very much a doctor-companion relationship, however that orientated to that of the Master and sort of developing how the Master can sort of actually like people. And at the end of the day, it does show, because we do have this idea that the Master has basically created this paradox. This is then unfolded throughout episode 3, and then by the very end, the Master uses this to his benefit. And it turns out that this companion that the Master has had, that pretty much that he's shown that he quite likes, at the very end is pretty much disposable, and he can just get rid of him like that. And I think that shows that this Master, as I say, doesn't really take to people very well. I think that he will sort of make it look like that he likes somebody, but then by the very end of it, just kill absolutely everybody. I think that that is the good thing. The main actual title for this release is Only the Good, and I think that there's no denying that throughout this release, this Master does do quite a lot of good things. Even throughout episode 2, The Good Master, which it is sort of conveniently named, we have this Master going to a hospital and then actually helping people and keeping people alive throughout the Time War, and actually then going on to help others. As I say, he saves the main companion for this release, and we do have this question throughout the final act of episode 2, where is this Master actually turning a little bit good? Of course, we did have that reflected within the new series. However, at the same time, this box set goes and poses that question, but also at the same time poses the same idea and evidence to show that, hang on, no, this Master is in fact untrustworthy, very evil, and it might just all be a big massive ploy. And I think that that is the main thing for this box set. It's unpredictable, and you do not trust the main character, showing that absolutely anything can happen. I think that that is the sheer beauty of it. And I think that as well, Johnny Green, as I say, as Cole, I think that he's a very good character for this release. I was very much invested within his character. I'm glad that they actually involved him within the series as well. I think that generally Derek Jacobi and him had a really nice little relationship that wasn't exactly a relationship. It's sort of based on mysterious hatred, kind of. It's really odd. But yeah, I think that generally the supporting cast as well for this one, Sir Nicholas Briggs as the Daleks, natural compliments for him as per usual. Very good range of Dalek voices. And yeah, generally overall, not really many other people that I want to mention for this release cast-wise. Maybe Emily Barber as the lead, who was the person in Skyman, which I'll get onto in a little bit. She was an incredibly good character that we got used to quite a lot throughout that story, and the relationship that she had. Paul was rather personal, so that is nice, and we'll get onto that, as I say, in a little bit. But generally overall for this one, the cast is really strong. I did really enjoy them in it. So briefly taking a look at all 4 stories for this release to start off with, I'm really happy that this is in fact a 4-story release, because even though I do like the War Doctor format, I still feel that having just that 1 episode less is something of which that I don't particularly like, and I'm glad that this box set opted for the 4 format, especially with this possibly being one standalone box set by itself, so it's a good format to in fact have. I do believe that something from this release that I can in fact back up, because I listen to this on a normal track list. You'll probably know if you download Big Finish regularly, but yeah, it's basically set into different tracks of different times, so I don't actually know the natural running times for the whole stories, but I am presuming that each episode may in fact have its own dependent running time. I do believe that episode 3 may be slightly longer than the others. It didn't feel a little bit longer, which is a good thing to an extent at the same time. But yeah, taking a look at Beneath the Viscoid by Nicholas Briggs now. This episode is a really good starting one. It involves the Daleks, which, to be quite honest, don't particularly have a major role for this release. I kind of seen the Daleks as a little bit of a connector scene point type thing, because they are in their Dalek spaceship and they are trying to get the Master back because he's escaped their imprisonment as per usual. I'm presuming that that is the natural Dalek imprisonment that we had many times throughout the classic series that we did see and referred to at several points. I do believe that Big Finish have picked up on that at some point as well, so it's nice to see that they've had him escape the Dalek imprisonment and then to go and find his TARDIS in the Beneath the Viscoid area. And I think that generally this story, as I say, is based on the idea of consequences, and the way that we have this fraction of people on this planet, I do believe that is called Gardeza. There we go. Thank you, notes that I did prepare earlier. But yeah, we have this planet called Gardeza, where you have this sort of little fraction of people that are wanting to sort of uprise against the Daleks, as they have previously basically killed the majority of their people, and they have this very strong bond. They find this capsule beneath the water that is in fact a little bit unusual. It's a little bit sort of based around time, and no prizes for guessing what that is. It is, of course, the Master's TARDIS that is malfunctioning slightly, and throughout the whole episode we have this Master actually trying to fix his TARDIS and then escape the Daleks' grasp after him thinking that he's in fact being a bit of a Dalek agent, and he kind of like multi-crosses absolutely everybody. By the very end, the people that we've in fact seen throughout this release that the Master has got to know, pretty much, I think it's no spoiler to say, don't exactly end up coming out the other end alive. And I think that is absolutely excellent. The Daleks come into this story and basically just go exterminate and kill absolutely everybody. I think that there's pretty much just a wash of dead people at the very end, which is a perfect theme to have for the War Master. I think that definitely there's a big difference between Doctor Who and the War Master throughout this release. I think, as I say, a lot more death, a little bit more violence, which is great to see for the Master. That is definitely something that I expect. So generally overall, a really good story to start on. And the main compliment that I physically actually shivered when the Master did this, but he actually turned around to somebody and went, "I am the Master," and then I could sort of sense him staring and went, "And you will obey me." That is the thing that he did throughout the whole of the classic series. He hypnotised people to do what he wanted, and for some reason, God knows why, the new series has kind of forgotten that technique. He has never done that once, I do believe, in the new series, and it's just so nice to see this new series Master actually turn around very evilly and hypnotise somebody. I think that if any of the new series Masters were in fact to do the "I am the Master and you will obey me" glare, I think I would want it to be Jacobi, because he just did it incredibly well. And yeah, generally overall, for that reason alone, for this release, it's a really good one to start on. Taking a look at The Good Master briefly now by Janine H. Jones, it's a really nice one also, as I say, reflecting that idea of the Master literally doing a good thing. It's kind of a little bit of a Holby City format, where we have this idea of a casualty spaceship and basically a hospital planet where people from the Time War can go, refugees, people of war that have been hurt here and there, and then they can go and get fixed up and then sent on their way once more. And the War Master is in fact on this planet. The Daleks are on pursuit of him to try and track him down once more, and they capture this planet and they basically say, "If you don't hand over the Master, then we're going to blow you up completely." And then the Master is of course using the identity of the Doctor once again, so naturally the people on this planet do not know that he's the Master, and then there's no surprises by, at the very end, something of which I absolutely love, the Master goes and does his own thing, and then this whole planet pretty much ends up being destroyed by the very end of it, and once again the Daleks come in and basically slaughter absolutely everybody, and I love it. It's a very gripping scene, and the Daleks do in fact feel like a very big threat throughout this release. I think that when we have them coming over Tannoy saying, "This is the Daleks, we are now sort of conquering this planet," I think I very much did believe them. They had a lot of power throughout this release. I think that I would love to see them written like this a lot more in the future. And generally overall for this one, it shows how the Master is very selfish. He can go and do his own thing, even if it means that other people get killed. And as of course in the story, we're introduced to Cole, the person that he saves at the very start of this release, and this episode in fact starts with a very gripping opening sequence of having the spaceship crashing and the I was going to say the Doctor then, the person that is posing as the Doctor being the Master actually saving them, and it's a wonderful scene, as I said, to start on, and generally overall a really nice pivotal moment for the series. It kind of sets up all of the other stories. And then we have The Skyman, written by James Goss. Bloody hell, I genuinely, I don't know how to start with this one, because I want to talk about it. I really want to set all of the details and go into all the different tiny little moments that we had throughout this one. To start with, it felt like it went on for absolutely ages. It felt like we actually got used to this planet and these people on it. Basically, the main premise is Cole wants to make a difference because he's seen this planet be completely destroyed with the Master, and then he wants to go to another planet and save them. So we have this absolutely brilliant scene at the very beginning where the Master puts up a whole list of planets that are going to be slaughtered by the Time War. Basically says, pick one, let's go and save it. So once again we have that idea of the Master being good. How this time, this one is Cole's story and he is the one that needs to save this planet. And this episode raises a lot of questions. The Master essentially does take a back seat, which is something of which I don't particularly mind. I think it may be nice to see him in it a little bit more. However, by the very end, naturally, he did become a lot more of a pivotal role within the final act. And I think that very much for this one, if we didn't have this story to base around Cole's character, then I wouldn't have particularly cared about him in the final episode where the consequences do in fact happen. So this episode is just brilliant for what it does. I think that this episode, as I say, it does raise a lot of questions, and it refers to an episode that is very much a popular one for Big Finish. It's a very old story from the 1 to 50 range, and I'm not really going to say much else about that, but yeah, I think that this episode does copy ideas from that story, and there is in fact a moment where I did think, hang on, is this a new version of this type of character? But it turns out that it's not, but it does base around the idea of humans being developed and technology being applied to them to actually survive an illness or a sort of plague or something like that. And then we have this old sort of medieval style of planet where Cole arrives. Naturally he gets used to these people and he wants to try and help out, and in the different ways and the different challenges that he comes across, he sort of tries to help, but at the same time causes different issues, and naturally, because he's now on this planet, there is a moment where you do in fact think, hang on, is he the one that has brought this illness to this planet, where he has his giant mechanical spacesuit? And yeah, it's one of those ones where you get used to all the characters. As I say, we have this person called Elide, very much where Cole actually ends up in a relationship with, and I did very much believe that relationship throughout the whole story. And then the final act, where he is just in the farm area in this medieval town, and then all of a sudden he starts talking to one of the villagers, and then it starts acting like that all the emotions have been taken away because he's put this spacesuit on them to make them survive. And yeah, they don't have emotion anymore. They just want to survive, and they want to destroy whatever other alien race has in fact brought this alien sort of plague to them and made this illness, and they want to go out into the universe and kill absolutely everybody. Does that sound familiar to any particular alien that we've had throughout the 50 years of Doctor Who? Answers on a postcard. But yeah, it's basically a little bit of a mix of basically the two main villains of Doctor Who. And then we have the Master throughout this one, who's basically making grapes. I'm not even joking. He's got a little farm, he's making grapes, he's making his own wine, he's basically chilling out. Then by the very end of this one, Cole needs to try and escape, and the Master just goes, let's go. You've created this whole paradox race because Cole is a paradox. And then that paradox is then going to go and rage hell basically throughout the universe. And this episode, as I say, does have consequences. Nothing good happens at the very end, and that is what I absolutely love about this one. By far, this episode is in fact the highlight release for me for this whole box set. I think that it just has such a brilliant impact behind it. And as I say, it has the premise of an old 1 to 50 story in a very popular episode of Doctor Who, but that's then been manipulated. And I think that very much it might have been nice to see the character that is created at the very end developed a little bit more. However, at the same time, I like that mystery there. I think that idea of this paradox race is a great idea, and something of which, as I said, would have been nice to see a little bit more of, but at the same time, I like the mysterious side behind it. The final episode of the box set is A Heavenly Paradigm, written by Guy Adams, and it is a really nice episode to in fact end off this release. It is a little bit more small and compact. It is in fact set in Stamford Bridge in the 1970s, because why not? And we basically have this Gallifrey archive type thing where other people can go and you have all their weaponry being based. So naturally the idea, I do believe, that has been played with before with Gallifreyans, where they can go to this planet, basically an idea where there is this place where absolutely nobody will go because it's boring and it's dull. However, we've got this massive supply area for Time War related weapons, and this episode is in fact set within a semi-detached house where you have this massive archive of weapons where the Master can then go and basically pick out whatever weapon he wants to reset the universe pretty much. And we have that whole idea at the very end of a little bit of a Doomsday Chronometer style of format. It does remind me a little bit of Doom Coalition to an extent, especially the later half of Doom Coalition, however on a little bit of a smaller scale. But at the same time, the Master is basically wanting to rewrite everything because he thinks that he's kind of doing good. At the same time, he thinks that by ending the Time War, something of which that he very much does want to do, much like how the Doctor very much does want to do. But we have this Master with the Heavenly Paradigm wanting to go and rewrite everything and sort of make every single choice the right choice. And we have this wonderful moment at the very end of this story. I'm aware that I've kind of skipped out the whole episode and gone to the very end, but very much the very end of this episode sets up the whole premise for the rest of it. This episode basically has a scene at the very end where we have this computer saying everything that the Heavenly Paradigm is doing, saying this planet has been wiped out, however now it's not, it's bustling with life, the technology that they've created is amazing. And you actually do think for a minute, hang on, this planet has gone and done something, the Master has saved it. Then we move on to this planet where it's been saved once again, and then kind of likes that. And then we have this moment where the Daleks come into it, and we have this flip of events where we have the cruciform, which is an idea that has been spread throughout Doctor Who for many years. It's basically his giant weapon, I do believe. It's mentioned in Doctor Who quite a lot. And we have the idea of what if the Daleks got the cruciform and then wipe out the whole universe, and we can actually feel parts of his history being rewritten, and we have almost that Five Doctors moment where we have him physically going through pain. And then by the very end of this release, we have the Master, of course, sort of returning back to his normal self, and then he sees the amount of impact that he's in fact had on the universe and the amount of things that he has caused, and to be quite frank, he goes into a little bit of a meltdown, and that leads on to a moment where he decides to get a chameleon arch and then put it onto his head, and then we have the moments of Utopia, pretty much. And then we have the whole setup to Utopia of this master turning into a child. We have this absolutely wonderful monologue that has been incredibly well played by Derek Jacobi. And the reason why that I'm saying this, it's not exactly much of a spoiler, is because this whole series goes into a massive arc. It basically gets the idea that we had that massive hole throughout series 3 of what has this master been doing all this time? Why did he decide to run away from the Time War? And we have that one moment that was used in Utopia, developed into a whole box set, and we have that massive hole that has now been filled with 4 stories worth of media, and I just absolutely love that. This episode and this series as a whole is very strong. It gets that area of Doctor Who and fills it, and has that idea of the Master getting very personal with the Time War and showing how that affected him. And for that reason, I absolutely love this release. I think that generally overall, as a whole 4-part story, as 4 separate stories, each episode contributes to the overall arc, and each episode goes and does something different. And at the very end, oddly, I felt like the Master actually bonded with the listener, because I was sad to see this Master go. I was sad to see him use the Chameleon Arch, and I actually genuinely felt sorry for him, because at certain points he was just trying to do a good thing, but at the same time a little bit of an evil thing as well. We had that evil side coming out, that evil glint every so often, and Derek Jacobi's laugh is just absolutely wonderful. But yeah, generally overall, this is Doctor Who, but with consequences, and Derek Jacobi is absolutely excellent, and I can't wait to see what they do with him and the other further releases, including Gallifrey: The Time War Volume 1, I do believe the Unit New series line as well. I'm glad that they're using Derek Jacobi quite a lot. So yeah, generally overall, a very good release, one of which I recommend maybe more to the classic fan as opposed to the new series one, because maybe the plots are a little bit more complex, but at the same time, I basically recommend this for the whole of the Big Finish listener, to be quite honest, even a new listener, because I think that this series is incredibly powerful, and one of which that I highly recommend. So overall, we're pretty much ending 2017 off on a high. I do believe there is at least 1 or 2 more Big Finish reviews to do for this year. But yeah, I kind of wish we're ending on this one, to be honest, because I think that this is generally a really good summarisation of what Big Finish can do. Go and get that hole and then fill it with a ton of media that in fact is very satisfying, because we have this Master that has been really developed throughout this release. And I absolutely love Derek Jacobi's Master now. And I actually feel like I can like him, because I think from what we got from the actual TV show, it wasn't really much to go on, and even then throughout that whole story he wasn't actually being the Master, he was being Professor Yana. But this series actually set up that whole idea of what we then see in Utopia, and then we kind of understand when he opens that clock in the story actually what that Master went through, and kind of you do feel sorry for him to an extent, but at the same time you know that he's an evil, horrible human being, well, Time Lord, and you don't really like him, and I just love that. And as I say, I recommend this for many different people, classic series fans, new series fans, new listeners, hardcore Big Finish listeners, because generally this box set has something for everybody, and the whole cast is very strong, the writing is incredibly strong, and yeah, probably one of the best releases for this year, to be quite honest. It's very mysterious, and as I say, Doctor Who of consequences. What is there not to like about that? So thanks for watching this review. If you have any questions about this release or any of the products that I've reviewed this year, then please do leave them below, and we'll answer them at some point in the near future. And as well, have a good Christmas, depending on when this video goes out. I don't know if it will be going out before or just after Christmas. Either way, hope you've had a good one. I hope you have a very good new year as well. And I hope you enjoy the channel for the rest of this year, as well as going into 2018 as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next review, whatever that may be. Bye for now.